The restaurant had gone silent in my head, though I knew the low hum of conversations and clinking of glasses carried on around us. I could still hear the violinist drifting through the room, the dimmed chandeliers reflecting off polished silverware. But all of that blurred into nothing the moment she whispered those words. Jason. Can't. My career comes first. The diamond ring in my hand caught the light, a cruel sparkle that mocked the warmth I had imagined in this moment. Her eyes avoided mine, flicking down at her napkin as if it had suddenly become the most interesting thing in the world. I felt the air leave my lungs. My throat tightened. I wanted to demand an explanation, to ask why she had smiled at me so sweetly these past 3 years, why she'd whispered late-night promises of forever into my ear. Instead, all I managed was a quiet nod. Okay, I said. My voice didn't shake. It was calm, controlled. The opposite of what my heart was doing. And then, I stood, placed the velvet box back into my jacket pocket, and walked out of the restaurant. I didn't look back. The silence that followed. 4 days afterward, I told myself it wasn't betrayal. That maybe Emily had been honest. Maybe she truly wanted to focus on her career, that I couldn't fault her for choosing ambition over marriage. But in the pit of my stomach, something gnawed. Her rejection hadn't been hesitation. It had been certainty. Finality. And certainty like that doesn't just spring up overnight. We'd lived together for almost 2 years. We'd shared dreams, bills, even toothbrush holders. Yet suddenly I was on the outside of her life, looking in. She moved out within a week, claiming it was for space. She said she needed time to figure things out. And like the fool I was, I let her go. But space turned into silence. Calls unanswered. Messages seen but ignored. And then, late one night, when I couldn't fight the weight of suspicion anymore, I drove past her new apartment. Her car was there. Lights on. Another car parked beside hers. A sleek black Mercedes I'd never seen before. My chest constricted. I told myself it could be anyone. Coworker. Friend. But then the shadow of a man moved across her window. That was the moment my denial cracked. The truth in fragments. I didn't confront her right away. I wanted proof, something undeniable. So I waited, quietly, like a man nursing an invisible wound while the world carried on. 2 weeks later I got it. One of my buddies worked in the same corporate circle Emily was climbing. He invited me for drinks, but when I arrived, his face was tense, almost guilty. Jason. Look, I don't know how to tell you this. But I think you should know. He slid his phone across the bar. On it was a photo. Emily, my Emily, in a cocktail dress, her hand resting on the chest of a tall man in a tailored suit. His arm was around her waist, possessive, intimate. They weren't hiding. The photo had been taken at a work event. That's her boss, my friend said quietly. Her boss. It was like the world folded in on itself. All the night she said she was working late, all the excuses about networking dinners. It had all been for him. Not for me. Not for us. The confrontation. I waited until she couldn't dodge me. I showed up at her apartment, my knuckles white against the door as I knocked. She opened it, surprise flickering across her face, quickly replaced by discomfort. Jason, what are you doing here? I pushed past her before she could protest. We need to talk. She sighed, closing the door softly, as if afraid of making too much noise. This isn't a good time. No, Emily. Now is the time. Tell me the truth. How long? Her lips pressed into a line. She crossed her arms. Don't do this. How long? My voice cracked. Finally, her shoulders slumped. Since before the proposal. I staggered back, the words hitting me harder than any physical blow could. So all those nights, all those moments we shared, it was already over for you? Tears welled in her eyes, but I couldn't tell if they were from guilt or just the discomfort of being caught. Jason, I didn't mean for it to happen. He believes in me. He's helping me get to where I want to be. I laughed, but it wasn't joy. It was broken, bitter. So that's it. You traded us for a promotion. Her silence was the only answer I needed. Walking away for real. The thing about betrayal is, it doesn't explode in one sharp moment. It lingers. It claws at you when you're alone, when you're trying to sleep, when you replay every conversation and wonder which words were lies. But that night, standing in her apartment surrounded by pieces of a life we once shared, I realized I couldn't fight for someone who had already chosen someone else. So I turned toward the door. She called after me. "Jason, wait." I didn't. This time I walked away for real. Picking up the pieces. The weeks that followed were hell. Grief came in waves, unpredictable and sharp. One moment I'd be making coffee, the next I'd be on the kitchen floor, choking back sobs. My friends told me I was better off, that she didn't deserve me. My parents said time would heal. But healing felt impossible when every corner of my life still smelled like her. I deleted her number, blocked her on social media. And still at night, I'd dream of her slipping her hand into mine, only to wake up to emptiness. It wasn't until months later when I saw her again, that the wound truly closed. The final reveal. It was at a cafe downtown. I'd stopped in for a quick coffee, and there she was, sitting at a corner table with him. Her boss. She looked different. Tired, thinner. Her laughter was brittle, forced. And when our eyes met across the room, I saw it. Regret. She quickly looked away, but not before I noticed her hand slip off his arm. For the first time I didn't feel pain. I didn't feel anger. I just felt free. Because in that moment I realized something. She hadn't rejected me for her career. She'd rejected me because she'd already betrayed me. Her career was just the excuse. I walked out of that cafe with my coffee in hand, the sun warm on my face. And for the first time in months I smiled. Not because I wasn't hurt. Not because the betrayal hadn't left scars. But because I knew now that her choices weren't a reflection of my worth. They were a reflection of hers. Emily had chosen ambition wrapped in betrayal. I had chosen dignity. And sometimes the greatest act of strength isn't fighting for someone to stay. It's walking away without looking back.